do the prayer.
Works for me.
Okay.
Let's close our eyes and begin to focus on our breaths, slowly inhaling and exhaling. And a couple more slow, deliberate breaths. And we begin to be centered in the combined energy of today. We thank the spirits and God and Jesus for blessing this earth and humanity. Thank the spirits that guide this group and each of us individually, and those spirits that are here to pray alongside us and learn alongside us. Thank you for the opportunities to be in corporal community and share in the wisdom. We ask our speaker to bring us the knowledge and our mentors to guide us to digest it and look for opportunities to apply what it is we learned today. And we begin today's session. And so be it.
It is. Thanks, Mark.
All right, everyone. Welcome to
The
Bezerra Spiritual
prayer.
Healing Center.
Works for me.
Just wanted to reinforce that we are part of the
Let's
United
close
States
our
Spiritist
eyes
Federation. Oops, wait.
and
There we go. And this service is split into two parts. So the first one, we will have someone speaking to us, and I'll introduce him in just 1 minute. And then the second part, it's going to be a hands-on healing passes. So everybody is welcome to join us. If you are on the YouTube, join us on the Zoom link or stay in prayer. You will receive all the energy. We do have plenty of opportunities for us to stay together along the week. So I'm going to share with you all the book studies that we have. So you just have to go to bshcenter.org/events. And in here, you have all of our schedules. So on Sundays, we do our services from 10 to 11:30-ish Pacific time. Right after that, we have the healing passes. We do have daily prayers every day 6 p.m. It takes usually 15-20 minutes, and it's really important for us to not only receive energy but also to give energy to the world. We all know how much it's all needed, so everybody's welcome to join us in the same Zoom link. We also give fraternal counseling. This one is, of course, by appointment only. It's individual. Usually, it's on Wednesday from 4 to 7 p.m. But if you need any other time, do let us know at in our website. You can send us a message if you have our contact, and we will make sure to have someone assigned to talk to you. This is a moment for us to pray together, for you to vent into a very safe place. We are here for you. And we know that one of the biggest things that Spiritism teaches us is to work on our inner transformation. So we do have a lot of book studies, so then we can all work together in the reflections and the things that are needed for us to reach out this evolution. So on Sundays, we are reading Missionaries of the Light, and actually we are at the very end, and soon we will have a new study, and I will put it on the group really soon. But we are going to study Liberation, which is an amazing book too, and it will start in April. So website will be updated, and end of April, probably on the 19th, we will start the book Liberation. So everybody's welcome to join us. On Tuesdays, we are reading the book The Consoler. It's an amazing book by Emmanuel via Chico Xavier. This one is done in collaboration with the Divine Light Spiritist group. You can use the same link. On Wednesdays, we recently started the book Paul and Stephen, and it's an amazing book about transformation. So everybody, again, welcome to join us. On Thursdays, we are reading the book Living in Spring. In addition to all of that, we have mediumship services, and these are we do have the first part, which is educational, but this one is by invitation only, and whoever wants to join needs to do the introduction to spiritism first and be invited to join this group. But the first part, we do have education, and the second part, it's not open for the public, because the PSH mediums will be working with the spirits on high for us to send good energy and healing energies for those who are in need for physical or spiritual treatment. So if you or anyone who you know is in need of any type of treatment, do let us know, and the person will be in treatment for 4 weeks. Now, it is really important that during this time, the person who is in treatment stay in tune and open to receive the healing energy. So, read the gospel, meditate, make sure that you are in tune with the service. So, as I said, all of this is at bshcenter.org, and these are all the opportunities for us to be together. And I do want to share. My computer is so slow. Yeah. So I do want to share who is going to talk to us today. He's a very, very dear friend of ours, and he's always coming to BSH. So we are immensely grateful for you to be here. Brian, thank you so much. So Brian Vosbergue is going to talk to us about nothingness and intuition of future joys and sorrows, which is very timely. We just studied this part at the Spirit's book. For those who still don't know Brian, he is an American-born spiritist who has participated actively since being introduced to the movement in March of 2005. He has since become a speaker and presenter, having spoken at centers in New Jersey, New York, Florida, as well as past spiritist symposiums. Brian actively advocates living the principles of doctrine and living a moral life. Professionally, he's a licensed professional civil engineer, overseeing state roadway constructions projects in the Southwest Florida. We are immensely grateful for having you here today. For everybody, I highly encourage you to take a piece of paper and write down the notes for you to reflect along the week. And please help me to give him a very warm welcome. Thank you so much for being here, brother.
Thank you. It was interesting when we were saying, like, okay, we're doing parts of a book. And it's like, okay, good. And I'm trying to remember, like, with all the different places I've been and studied, there's the groups that will sit down and read it line by line, open discussions and things of this nature. And then there's those that do like this. They'll sit here, take the topic and say, okay, we're going to talk this area. And as me, as a speaker for today, what are the things that reached out to me? And I would encourage you to read along, or at least go through and read this same section yourself, see what gets to your attention, what comes out to you, because the things that are important to you have immense bearings. Because as I sit there and look at things, and I sit there and say, okay, let me take something here. So let's say, like, when I take my phone here, and it's like I'm holding it up, I can see the screen, you can't. But that's the same thing with everything you read. When you read the Spirit's book, when you read the Gospel, when you read the Medium's book, or any of the like they were mentioning before, the books of Andre Louise, you'll see things from a slightly different perspective based on your experiences. And it's immensely powerful to share those same experiences, because what you see, I may not see. And that's how we can learn and grow, because we do see those slightly different vantage points. And it may help me understand something that I'm struggling with that you already understand, and vice versa. I'm hoping that I will say some things from my point of view that help you understand this material just that little bit better, so that you can bring it and understand it just because it's from my perspective, maybe just what you need to get that extra dimension to make this, instead of 2D, 3D. And then you can see or start seeing around these topics. So with this, we're chapter 2, part 4, Future Joys and Sorrows of the Spirit's book, starting with question 958. Usually when Allan Kardec is writing these things, he starts off very big and grand, and then he'll refine. So we're talking nothingness, the future life. starting off with 958. Why are human beings instinctively horrified with nothingness? Because there's no such thing as nothingness. We see this in our day-to-day lives. We see this in physics and everything else. We notice that there really is no true void. There's something always there. Dark matter, the wind, air, like we can't even see the air, so we think there's nothing in the air, but yet there is. There's things outside of our perceived senses. We only see a sliver of the visible light spectrum. We can't see gamma rays. We can't see X-ray, infrared, radio, all these things that color the spectrum around us. Now we create tools and sensors to help us look in those areas, in those places, to expand and broaden our horizon so that we can see things that we can't. And likewise, using those same tools, they help us perceive. I mean, look at X-rays. Before X-rays, no one knew the bones in our hands. They couldn't tell if you broke your bone or anything. With that invention, now we can see through. X-ray can't see the flesh, can't see the skin, but it can see our bones. So when you sit there and you think about it, it's like perception. We think there's nothing there, but God, the spirits, they can. And they can usually see all around us all the time, the things that we miss. So, and with that, we keep thinking of the future. What happens when we die? Is it nothingness beyond? And the spirits sit there saying, no, absolutely not. There is something out there. You actually kind of know it. That's what that feeling in your consciousness. As you read 959, your spirit knows this. It has a memory. The physical body may not, but the spirit does. And that's one of those things, like we always get that little vagary here when we have the body, the spirit, the paraspirit, and the body, all three of them. It's like one has had many, many lives. The body, it's its first and only. And you kind of like, I used to say, like when you get a new bike, we all know how to, once we learn how to ride a bike, we never forget. But it takes us a moment when we get on a new bike or buy a new car or everything else to learn it, to get to use it. And it's the same thing with our bodies. We come in these things, our body doesn't know anything. It's a new body, and we have to build ourselves up. We have to learn a little bit so that the knowledge that our spirit has can translate through the body. And we see this when we're saying like future joys and sorrows, the nothingness, the future life. The spirit knows, but the body doesn't. And it's like, how do you make this? So you have to have something the body can experience to give it a frame of reference that the spirit can then talk to and show. This is where we have these conversations, these dialogues, these topics. When we sit here and we talk about the future life, we're having, like back in Kardec's time, when we had the spirits writing messages, or when we had Chico or Divaldo, when they'd sit there and write messages from the spirits, and they would tell us the stuff from the other side. They would help us illustrate it for us because they would give, or at least our physical bodies, a point of reference, a framework. So we're not hitting a blind wall. They're giving us a sign. They're giving us indication. I'm in road construction. We put up a sign, stop ahead, yield ahead, crosswalk, something to give you warnings so that you know what's coming up, especially when we make a mess of things, which we love to do. So anyone who's understood in road construction, it's a necessary evil. Everyone hates it, but then they love it once it's done. But during that time frame, when we got the cones, the barrels, and everything, and it's a total mess, everyone's like, oh, yuck. Hurry up, get it done. But when it's done, beautiful. And it's kind of the same thing here. We're sitting here, we're setting up things and to give a sense, like just when I'm doing when we have the road construction, after a while, you can kind of see what we're planning on doing. You can kind of read like, oh, that's what we're going to do. You're going to have a new bridge. You can have this. You're going to have this new building. You kind of get an idea. And that's exactly what this is. So, and we've always been fascinated with it. The commentary under 959, people have occupied themselves with the future beyond the grave. It's natural. we're wondering, we're curious. And we know that life is short. We know that there's an end. So, and we're like, well, what happens after this? What happens after this? It's like, well, we're blessed, and we've studied the doctrine, the Spiritism, because they're giving us guideposts, and even beyond. Like here, we have the Spirit's book, the first book of the codification, that started everything. And now look at us now, 107. I think we're about close to 170 years now of the Spirit's book, and we've had the rest of the doctrine, and we've had this voluminous library that's right behind me. We've got like Divaldo, we've got Chico, we've got Leon Denis, we got all these different people that have expanded upon the knowledge. They've built upon it. And it helps us see more and more of what's coming. What's the future life like? What can we expect? What are we to do to prepare? When you just read this book, like all the 4 parts, we're in the last part now. We're ending the Spirit's book. We went through a lot studying through this book. And you're coming to the end. It's like using everything you've learned, everything that we've done up to this point should give you a sense of comfort and joy, or sorrow, as we'll get to with the later question, that there is something ahead. And it's up to us to determine whether we're going to be happy to see it or not happy to see it. Because, and the other thing too, that with the Spirit's involvement is that they are sitting here and they are telling us that you don't disappear upon death. When you become a spirit once again, you retain your individuality. You stay the same person you were. You'll actually get more, because now your spirit will remember everything. But now you're sitting here thinking about, is it good? Is it bad? But we set it up. But we know that we're there, and we don't disappear into nothingness. We're not the proverbial drop in the ocean, where you can't ever get that drop back as it was perfectly. Well, God said, yes, you do. You go into the spirit world exactly with everything. You keep all your memories. You keep all your progress that you've made to this point. So when you move into the next section of the doctrine, the intuition of future joys and sorrows, the spirits have told us, it's like, hey, because of that spirit knows what's coming, even though the body doesn't. There's ways that the spirit reaches out and says, hey, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. You got your intuitions that are built within you. And your body, or just like it says, I'll read this one here from question 960. Presentiment of reality imparted to human beings by their spirit. You should know that it's not uselessly that an inner voice speaks to you. Your mistake is not listening to it. How many times have we felt that tug, that nudge, to say this might be right, this might be wrong? In cartoons, I always use this one a lot. The angel on one shoulder, the devil on the other one. It's like we've always had these moments where we're sitting here thinking about it. And we're sitting here like, you have a good point. That sounds like fun. I would love to do that. And you sit there like, and you have to make the choice, knowing that you're going to pay the consequences for it, good or bad. We always think of the bad consequences, but there's also good consequences too. How many of us have a stressful life? See, yeah, me too. And like I tell my daughter, so it's like, you can, if you do your homework, because she has an assignment that she has to do a part every day. She has Monday through Thursday, she has it, and then she turns it on Friday. If she does that little bit a day, she can be done in 5-10 minutes. But if she waits until Thursday, all those 5-10 minutes stacked up. Now she's got an hour to do all that homework, plus the other homework. So it's like an hour, an hour, an hour. I was like, wait a minute, you could have broken this up. It's even set up for you to do part a day, quarter a day. You can get so much done in that short period of time. And the same thing for us. We're sitting here when we go in, do we sit there and say like, okay, we got a long drive ahead of us, like we're preparing for a vacation, we're preparing for a trip, and we're sitting here thinking like, okay, does the car have gas? Will it need an oil change? Should we change the oil beforehand? Do we have all our foods and snacks? Are all the bills paid? There's the checklist. And it's funny to us when we think about that in our day-to-day lives, that we also have that same thing in our spiritual life, our morals, our morality, the whole purpose. Sitting here, it's like, yeah, you got a checklist too. Now you can sit there and do like the 10 Commandments, or like Jesus, love your father with all your heart, mind, and soul, and treat your neighbor as yourself. The two rules. You can sit there and go through all the different things. We don't even have to get spiritual. I mean, we got the checklist for being here in the United States. We've got the Bill of Rights and all that type of stuff. That's been argued to death in the news so many times, but it's like that's still another checklist. We have all these checklists, but are we following it? Because if you don't do it, just like your car, if you don't check to see if you have enough gas, you run out of gas. Bad consequence. Fill the tank up. Good consequence. Guess what? You get to where you're going on time, early, whatever, because you thought ahead. And that's what this thing says here. This whole section here, intuition of future joys and sorrows. You set up whether your spiritual life is going to be good or bad, whether you filled that tank before your spiritual trip or you left the tank dry, and you're going to go there and you're going to have a little problem because you're going to run out of gas somewhere, and then you're like, oh, I need help. And just like that with the spirits, when we have to ask for the spirits for help, they come and help. The spirit towing service works 24/7, 365. And all they'll ask for you to in turn is like, go back and do it again next time, but this time remember to fill your tank up with gas. So, and then I'll move on to 961. At the moment of death, what is the dominant sentiment in most people? Doubt, fear, or hope? I think Alan Kardec knew what was coming. He kind of teed this one up because the spirits go sitting there. It's like doubt for the hard-hearted skeptics, fear for the guilty, and hope for the good. So you kind of have that expectation. And again, using like the homework assignments. It's like, if you don't do your homework, do you think you're going to get a good grade? I doubt it. There's the doubt. Or you didn't do it and you're not doing well in class. You're going to go feel guilty. Like, yeah, I didn't do it again. And you have that guilt, knowing that you could have done it, should have done it, coulda, woulda, shoulda, but you didn't. You have that eating at you. We have that in our lives all over the place. From relationships to work to projects around the house to you name it. And then we sit there and say, like, we use these small little examples. Why? Because that's indicative of the greater puzzle. Are we using this if we're used to procrastinating in our day-to-day lives? If we're used to pushing things off in a day-to-day life. Do you think we're also doing the same thing on the spiritual side? Do you think that we are if we are motivated to improve, self-improvement, everything else, we're also not doing our moral improvements? So going into 962, This one got to be a little fun when I was reading it, preparing. So I'm sorry I don't have slides. For a second there, I thought this was going to be share the book and just sit there and read, have it open for reading. But then we say it's like, oh, there's skeptics and everything else. And there's like, oh, there's a lot of skeptics out there. And then you go poke around and you find out there's not as many as you think there are. You know, the squeaky wheel theory. You have one squeaky wheel, and if it's loud enough, you think it's all of them. But it's only one. And you go through and you're like, nope, this one's fine, this one's fine. And you can find the other three are good, and then just find the one bad one. And it's the same thing here. We kind of like, we act like we are skeptical. Or we're sitting there like, I'm a proud this or that, you know, proud atheist, proud this, whatever. We go through that thing and we're like wondering about, are they skeptical about the life to come? Some people say, well, I don't know. I'm unsure. But then they'll hear some things, they'll talk to people and everything else, and they'll sit there like, and especially for us as spiritists, we reassure them it's okay. It doesn't matter. Even though this life ends, your life does not end. It will, and it will get better. May not be immediately. Using another example, all of us here that have gone through some kind of technical school, college, you did training for something, for some profession. Even Mark, when he was sitting there learning to play all his musical instruments, there was a time he didn't know. But he practiced. He went through the pain, the sufferings, playing bad chords, bad music, until finally he got better and got better and better. So he's a talented musician now. You had to go through that pain. You had to go through that learning process. You have to be a freshman in college, or, you have to be a newbie on the job. For those of us that like watching shows like Deadliest Catch, when you see the greenhorn on the boat, and then you come back after a few seasons, you find out that the greenhorn is now the veteran. So you saw him progress. You saw him grow. God's doing the same thing to us. He's watching us, and he's rooting for us. We may be the greenhorns spiritually, morally, but we're learning. We're growing. In time, we will be veterans. We just have to apply ourselves and practice it. And this is where it is. It's like doubt for the hard-hearted, fear for the guilty, hope for the good. If we go through life and we apply ourselves and we study and we apply what we learn, we change our principles. It's not enough to sit there and say like, oh, I'm saved. I believe I saved. There's work to be done. And we need to go ahead and do the work, because that's what gets us to going back to 961, the hope for the good, that we are hopeful that we are going to be going to a good place, better place, and we can still keep doing the good that we started in this body. I looked through the Andre Louis series and realized that every time Andre Louis talks about when he visits a higher spiritual city, and realizing that for us, we kind of sit there, for those that have read the book, Non Solar or Astral City, that that's a nice place to be. We like that place. Until we realize that's another step. There's places better than it. There's places higher. If we think Non Solar is paradise, can you only imagine what it's like for the places above that? So I'll move on to God's intervention. God's intervention and punishment rewards. Remember, We see it written in the Bible that every hair on our head is counted. God knows them all. Every speck of sand on the beach, every leaf on a tree is known. Everything has a purpose, has a place, has a meaning. Yes, you can take one speck of sand off the beach. It's still a beach. But you're still taking that sand with you. That sand is still part of the beach. You can put it on another beach. You can keep it as a memory. But yet, it had a purpose. It's there. We have a purpose. Regina, Mark, Kiki, because you got your cameras on, have a purpose. And everyone else who's joined today, you have a purpose. You may not know it, but you do. That's probably the hardest part about this. We're not entirely sure what our purpose is. But that's okay. We're here to learn. We're here to go. This is school. We're in class. And just like in class, we have group projects. We get together. That's what we're doing right now. We're doing a group project. We're helping each other out. We're learning. We're growing together. Today it's my turn to be the teacher. Next week it's someone else. Maybe you someday will step up and become a speaker and play part of this and say your part, your story. So moving on to like here, this question 964, specifically in the commentary. We are thus the artisans of our own future happiness and unhappiness. We are the artists of our future. We choose. I can choose to go to the gym every morning and get stronger or be more physically fit. And because of that, I will see those results down the road. Mark, seeing him, the more he practices, the better he becomes. Or he'll branch off and say, you know what? Today I feel like playing the banjo. And he goes there and he goes from guitar to banjo, expands his horizons. Or maybe this time I'll sit there and I'll pick up a different book. I sat there and I finally sat there and said, you know what? I need to start reading these Joanna D'Angelo's books. They're a tough read. But then again, I had to sit there and say, you know what? I've read the other books. I've read most of the Andre Louise ones. The two recent ones that came out in English, I still haven't read them yet. Those are the last two I do. But then I kind of got into they're in my stack of books to read. So then I started reading some of the Joanna D'Angelo's books. But then again, I had to sit there and say, like, hey, you got to the point. You're proficient enough. You know enough. And if you don't, the beautiful thing about Joanna D'Angelo's is she's setting a bar and says, I know you can hit that. Just got to apply yourself. I mean, I had to watch that video that came out last year that when it was for YouTube when they talked about Divaldo and it showed Joanna and everything else and how Joanna pushed Divaldo and she kind of encouraged him. It's like, yeah, you could fail. You could go to Carnival or you can stay here, do the real work. And he stayed. And as Joanna learned and grew and helped, and he says like helped him work with him. That part where he's sitting there, he did all the autonomic writing, the whole stack of papers. And he said, and then she goes and tells him, go ahead, burn it. It's like, what? All this work, all this writing? That was training day. Now you're in the Olympics. And guess what? Now you know my name. Because she didn't tell her name until that point. She was his coach and got him ready for the Olympics. And now, when he burns that, then it's like, now the real work begins. Training day is over. You're preparing for the Olympics. God bless him for it. Because we got a lot of good stuff from him, from Joanna, and all the other spirits. Manuel, the Miranda Project, so many. And we have to put ourselves in that position. We can be like those people. They're just people like us. They were given their mission. We have our mission. If our mission is to learn, then let's do it to the best of our ability. For missions to teach, let's teach. For missions to inspire, let's inspire. We're here to help each other. Going into the last little section, I know we're running a little short on time. I think I've got about like 10 minutes left or 8. Question 965. Is there anything material about the joys and sorrows of the soul after death? It cannot be material, since the soul is not matter. We sit there using the car or the bicycle. Right now, we're not in our vehicle, so it's sitting out there dead. You get in it, turn on the key, push the button, it comes to life. You become the car. You are the spirit of the car. The steering wheel, the controls is the paraspirit. And then the car is the body that comes to life. But once you get to where your destination is, then you leave the car. The car goes dead again. But you got to your destination. The body did its purpose. You learned from that trip, or you went to the trip to learn. Then you come back, even though it's the same. For us, it's using the car. It's the same car, but we re-inhabit, we reincarnate the car, give it a new soul, new purpose, and we drive off again. We're doing that with our physical bodies. We're using that to go forward, even though the body will stay behind. The things we do for the spirit, what the body is transporting the spirit to do, to learn, to work, everything else is important. And like the car, or more specifically, the purpose of the car. We have cars, we have vehicles that do all different types of things. We have a car that goes to and from. On my project sites, I have vehicles that dig trenches, that scrape the ground, that transport dirt, pour concrete, lift heavy objects, all kinds of specialty things. Because that's what they were made to do. So here in question 966, why do human beings have such a crude and absurd idea about the joys and sorrows of life? It depends on how they have been taught. That's why we're here. We're improving our teachings. Our language is too incomplete to express what exists beyond our reach. Thus, it has been necessary to make comparisons, and you have been taken such images and figures as reality itself. We see that. I've used how many examples in this little lecture? Lots of them. And then, even going back to what I said before, the books. Andre Louise, and Joanna DeAngelis, Manuel, all these spirits that have come and talked to us, they're giving us comparisons. They're telling us and showing us, they're giving us an idea of what's ahead. If you've read Heaven and Hell, Part 2, each section It's a group of spirits, and they see their world a lot differently, depending on which chapter you are in. But that's us. We can sit there, and they also warn us. You go through those chapters. If you reread Heaven and Hell Part 2, from the happy spirits to suffering to the obstinate, all the way to the ones with the physical sufferings, they all have lessons for us. Some are good, some are bad. When we sit there and we see people that have physical handicaps and everything else, and realizing it's like, no, I chose this path. I wanted to do this. It's not only a challenge for me as a spirit, but it helps me get over something. Another example, really bad one in comparison to, but when I drive, I love leaving my right hand on the shifter in the middle. Left hand on the steering wheel, right hand on the shifter. Maybe it's the old manual transmission days. I don't know. But I go in and I drive another car where that shifter will flip. It'll flip over and say, oh, manual transmission, or if you flip it over here, then it stays in automatic. So I've been in that car, and I'll be sitting here driving along, and like, oh, I'm starting to turn, and next thing you know, I flip it. I'm like, uh-oh, flip back. That's a bad habit. So I'm sitting here like, uh-oh. So I got to figure a way to take my hand off, keep it on the steering wheel. It's different. It's difficult. It's hard. But that's the same thing here. I have to learn to do without that habit. And these people, these spirits that come back with deformities, accidents, things that take away something from them, that's their chance to sit there and says, you know what? I'm gonna have to do something to learn to do it this other way. Sorry, I'm gonna pick on you again, Mark. Have you ever tried playing opposite hands? Like if you're doing a guitar, it's usually right-handed, but if you flip over to the left hand, you can't do it.
I cannot do it. I've seen musicians do it, but yeah, no, that's not a talent that I have. Or
Even for me, even just writing, I've tried writing left-handed. It looks terrible, but I've tried it. And it's like, but as we just mentioned, imagine these people that can. Okay, that's simple, something simple, but that's an inspiration. If they can do it, we can do it. How many times has Jesus said that? It's like, if I can do it, you could do it. You just need faith. Faith as small as a mustard seed. You can do this. So, moving on to this other one here for 967. I want to read this line here because it was pretty good. Between the bad ones and the perfect ones, there's an infinity of gradations in which enjoyments are proportional to their moral state. We all know back in the early portions of the Spirit's book where we've got the 10 levels, first order spirits all the way down to the bottom, and the whole gradations in between. We sit there and think about it ourselves. And we sit there and we reflect on, we see people, we think we're the top. We think we're using the rainbow, like the chakras and everything else, where they always say the chakras like the red at the bottom and then it's purple at the top. And there's the gradations all the way up. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. We all think that we're violet when we may be green, orange, yellow, red. And then the people around us provide the contrast. They provide the other colors around us. Because just like our chakras, each of those energy centers have a purpose, have a meaning. They control a certain part. We have a part. We try to lift up the bottom. And we see this every day. When we create new inventions, we try new things, everything else. Look how society has changed in the last 100 years. Like when this Spirits book was written, the American Civil War had not happened yet. This was released before the Civil War. How much has changed in that history? We've learned to fly. We've gone to the moon. We've built computers, the internet. We've created a lot of different things. Have we stumbled and fell? Yes, but that's part of the power. We are growing. And and part of this thing that we see through is like right now, the social media culture. We're learning through this that we're saying, you know what? Having morality, having principles online, we should do that. Just like out in the real world. We should do that when we're doing social media. Because we had that culture about a decade ago where the kids were so brutal to each other that there was a bunch of kids that were committing suicide. We don't hear that too much these days because the kids learned. It's like, hey, there's a limit. So we are growing with all these technologies and everything we're doing. And we're seeing that this is, even though there's a lot of people that still keep the bad things, there's a lot of good on it. And we're growing, pushing forward. Painfully slow by the Spirit's point of view. And they tell us that how many times in this book? So. And remember that since we know that the body is material, it's not going to be for us forever. We can't have our material passions. Because we see that too. People that love to drink, love to smoke, all the vices. They push really, really hard and realize that they can't have those. Then they become the spirits that are sitting there to prey upon others. The vampirism that we see in other parts of the book. But I know I gotta wrap up here, so I'll try to make this last one quick. For those of us that have gone through and had some hard lives, I'm quoting this one here from question 970. Seeing happiness, but being unable to attain it. Regret, jealousy, rage, and despair arising from everything that keeps them from being happy. Those are the things we got to overcome. We got to overcome our regret, jealousy, rage, despair. When we overcome them, we do get the happiness. Again, that's going back to putting all the work into ourselves. And with this here, 971, the action of bad spirits is much less significant over other spirits than over human beings because other spirits are no longer sustained by material passions. We have this thing saying we think that we're being impacted. When we get to the spirit world, it's nothing. We get told bad things. We get told we're bad people. When we maybe are doing good things. It hurts. It's painful. But is it because of us? Or are we doing something that someone else is supposed to be doing? And they see that they're not doing it. That procrastination, that leaving it off. So they go, as we went back to those past questions, they see that they're going to be guilty. They see that they're not doing what they need to do. It's going to hurt them. And when they see other people doing it and knowing they can do it, it's painful. But for us, we know to put the hand out. It's okay. You can start now. Be the workers of the 11th hour. Start now. And you can find your happiness. and I'll end on this one here, the 974. If you teach things that reason will later reject, you produce an impression that will be neither durable nor healthy. How many things do we do that's illogical, unreasonable? We think with our head, we think with our heart, not knowing that these two should be lined up. They should work together. We've all of us, guilty as charged, done things with either our head or our heart without the other one. And we pay the price for it. But we learn. This is where being here together, being in a group setting, knowing that we are all works in progress, that we can, in some ways, find a way to talk to each other, that we can. I know we have the fraternal services and stuff like this. Don't need to go that far, though. Maybe that's one of those things like, hey, having a rough day, how do you handle some of this? Get the ideas. Going back to what I said before, you see one point of view, I see as something totally different. And it's not until we share that we flip the script and we see the other side. If I hold up a coin, says heads my way, tails your way, I can't see the other side. I need you to help me see it. With that, I will turn it back over. Thank you for letting me have this time to share.
Thank you. I thought that was pretty cool. You know, a lot of thinking in there, in your presentation. But what I walk away with is that inner voice, because we always have that process where we're overthinking, and but it really helps to hear the inner voice when we include meditation
Mm-hmm.
and taking our time when we're looking for the right answer. So, and yeah, I grew up with that angel on the other one side and that crazy one on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, it's like, okay, I could be nice, but that ain't no fun. This looks like I can make more friends if I act like this over here. Yeah, but but when it's all said and done, you're still responsible for whatever your actions are. I really appreciated your talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much, Brian. I also got very inspired in so many different ways. And for me, the thing that it is still actually making me reflect, and I'm even thinking about turning that reflection into one of the discussions that we are going to have at some point. But I'm really thinking about the intersection between progress, tragedy, or sufferings, and victories or success.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we know that the progress is inevitable, then I mean, based off of everything that we were saying that you were bringing to us, we do have some level of choice if we go to the path of tragedy, am I saying this
Mm-hmm.
right? Or if we go to the other one. And it's interesting because I always think about how can we grow through happy experiences. And this is something that I wish not only for myself, but all of those who I love, because we get to choose
Mm-hmm.
some of those things. We get to understand something as a suffering, or we can turn that emptiness that you were just bringing to us. We can shift to that, and it takes a lot of maturity. It takes a lot of transformation, a lot of discussions, and a lot of like work, as you were saying, for us to be able to turn that into something that is useful for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so even when we go through something that brings suffering, it doesn't hurt. I mean,
It hurts in the short term.
yes, yeah, we are able to more easily overcome that. And I'm not saying that without having gone through my pains. So I've had my pains and they all hurt very much for me, but I could even stay there suffering, like crying and in the misery of that pain, or I could stand up and walk forward. And I think that this is what your perspective brought to
Mhm.
me, how to stand up and move forward.
Well,
Um,
as a kid, as a child learns to walk, they fall down. They hurt themselves. They skin their knees. You know,
yeah,
Mark learning to play, fingers bleed. Me going to the gym, very sore muscles. But after a while, they aren't sore anymore.
yeah,
And then that weight that gave so much pain is easy. It's light.
yeah,
Then it goes on. You do heavier things. You do bigger things. You grow.
yeah, yeah. And the other thing too, and I will pass the word is you were mentioning how difficult it is for us to read Joanna de Angelis books because she takes us to the next level,
Mhm.
indeed. And the other thing too that you mentioned is how our language do not know how to translate some of the things that the spirits on high are trying to tell us, but there
Mhm.
is nothing like the action or the feeling. And that's why even when we are teaching someone, either an adult or a child, the best way for us to teach is by doing, by living, because
Mhm.
what we are going to the way that we are going to touch them is not through words, is through feeling, and that doesn't have to be translated into any word. Like we don't have to translate that for an adult or for a child. Whatever we will impact them with a feeling, it's a feeling. So this reinforced to me the importance of living.
Mhm.
Living. I said that somewhere. I have it. Apply what we learn. That is
Yes.
a lot to think. Thank you so much, brother.
Mhm.
Gratitude forever. I pass
Thank
the
you.
word for anyone who wants to ask, comment.
Good stuff, man. You give us plenty of stuff to chew on all day, all week. Um,
Imagine what I do to
I
myself.
well, I would supplement an element here, and it's founded in the basis of what is spiritism. That at whatever age we move from the this is mystifying to I now understand, and then you move forward again. You move through that. This is surprising. This is new. This is mystifying, and then you digest it and you realize more about yourself. For me, and maybe for others here, my age has everything to do with how quickly I learn. Because it's really easy for me to look back on 70 years of bad mistakes and a handful of good ones, a handful of good decisions in line with Spiritist principles. So I introduce to everybody on this call and watching later, and just realize your vulnerability. If you're a Spiritist, there's not a single perfect soul here on this show, this recording. We all have history. And what I've learned with Spiritist meetings is the sharing of that history impacts me. You spoke of a couple things, and I've known you for years now, but you spoke a couple things I did not know about. And I just went, oh, okay. I see where that's coming from, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So that's it, man. Good stuff. Like I said, I'll be chewing on a lot of this.
Yeah. Yeah, every time I read, one of the biggest things that what brought me to Spiritism was this ability to read this, and I will sit there and digest it for hours. I mean, this used to be my lunch hours. I'd go sit at lunch, have a Spiritist book as I'm eating my lunch, and just just sit there as I'm reading it and just processing it, thinking about it, taking it different ways, all these different things. How does this apply? Because like as I mentioned, as the bio, I put in, it has it in my bio. It's like, how do we apply this to our day-to-day lives? I mean, everything we can. I mean, we see this into things like that. They're like people that watch I Love Lord of the Rings. You've got the people there that do the One Ring and all the symbologies and everything else to it, and realizing that those are beautiful lessons that can be learned, that can apply to you. It's like I'm sitting here thinking of with Frodo going up the mountain. It's like do you have the strength to throw the One Ring away? He didn't. He carried it all the way up to the very last minute and then couldn't hold it.
Mhm. You know, it was something else you mentioned too, was about uh, when you no longer have the body. And, you know, we've learned through our work, of course, that there's a lot of spirits who leave the body. And on the other side, they realize how much they could have done,
Mm-hmm.
and how much, well, we all waste time, so I don't even want to say that one. But how much they have learned, they know, you know, that they can absorb now because they no longer have that density in the way of the body. But what they find is life does go on. And they find that it is better to love, to be charitable, to let go. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and that we don't belong to no one, you know, no one is my possession, in other words. You know, I don't own you. And we're all in it together. There's no one greater, better, you know, we're equal. And that is a beauty to me, even of knowing about God. We're all equal. We all start on the same playing field. Everything is matched. The only thing that separates us is you learning your merits, your morals. That's it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, but we're all still children of God. There's beauty in that to me.
There is. The Olympics. I'm gonna use it again. Hockey teams, the women's and men's for their gold medals and all that sort of stuff. Each player has a purpose. Each player has a position. They learn that skill to the max. And we're sitting here like, I may be the coach today, and someone else is the goalie, but it's together as a team we get our gold.
Yeah, so there's the doctor, there's the paramedic, there's the psychiatrist, there's the social worker, there's the educators, you know. Yeah, you're right. We're all supposed to interact.
I may. There's a very interesting thing about the Olympics and the awarding of medals. Coaches do not get a medal. I just found that every 4 years, I find that just incredible because the team would not be the team that wins a gold medal were it not for a coach that pulled it all together. But that's the spirit of the games. And the coach knows that when he takes that job.
His reward is seeing his
You
person
bet.
on the podium,
You
them
bet.
getting the. Now let's apply that to
Absolutely.
God. God is
Absolutely.
our
And
coach.
that women's hockey team, U.S. women's hockey team coach,
Mm-hmm.
he turned his head away from the cameras because he was crying. He didn't want his team or that to be captured. And same thing happened when they got their medals. He turned away. I just found that really amazing.
Mosen and Ken, you guys got something to say?
Just very quickly, I like the way you created the way for us to open our mind and see something in a way in which we might not otherwise think it possible. When you talked about the x-ray and the thing is here and the bones and whatnot, you can't see those things, but they are there. And it makes you think even more basically in terms of vision. You have people who have 20/20 vision, you have people who have vision that's worse than that, and you have people whose vision excel 20/20. And sometimes it's hard for us to believe a person can see that thing way over there. But when they describe it, and if you go out there and then you see it, oh, okay, then it's really real. So the way you open up the possibility of seeing something that, for all intent and purposes, is not there, but it's there. So you may or might go back and forth with that. So I thought that was really good.
Yeah, you mentioned, it's funny you mentioned vision. I'm sitting here thinking about this. It's like I have contacts in. I take them off. I can't see anything. I'm blind as a bat. But I put them in, and because I really, when I go and sit in the chair, I always focus on the most complicated letter and look at them, and so I can see the most details I can see. The E, so I can tell the difference between the E and the F, the S, the O and the Q, the P and the R. There's a little, tiny little detail, and because of that, when I have my contacts in, I'm better than 20/20. But take them off, totally blind. Can't even drive. I can't see the big E. So,
And yet it's there, right?
yeah, it's there. I know it's there. I just can't see it. Anyone else?
No. All right, everyone. So Brian, once more, thank you so much for being here. It's always a blast to have you, brother. So please come anytime. We are open and we love to have you. Thank you so much.
Will do.
I will stop the recording. We have 2 minutes break, and then we'll be back for the second part where we are going to have the healing meditation. So make sure to grab your bottle of water, and we'll resume in 2 minutes.